This is Stephanie McMahon, the billion-dollar princess, the polished, powerful corporate face of a global entertainment empire, a philanthropist, a champion for women's empowerment, a wife, a mother, and the daughter of a media legend. This is the woman WWE wants you to see, but this is also Stephanie McMahon, the unwilling bride of a satanic cult, a victim of a televised drugging and forced marriage, and most terrifying of all, the diabolical puppet master behind the darkest era in wrestling history. You know the executive, but you have no idea about the dark past she came from. This isn't just a story. This is a descent into madness. This is the dark WWE past of the legend's daughter that they buried until now. To understand the darkness, you must first understand the legend, Vince McMahon, a name that transcends professional wrestling. He is a Hollywood-level media mogul, a billionaire titan who transformed a regional carnival act into a global entertainment juggernaut. He is, in every sense, a legend. And every legend has a legacy. His was his daughter, Stephanie. Born into a world of incomprehensible wealth and power, Stephanie McMahon was wrestling royalty from birth. She was the princess of a kingdom built on smoke, mirrors, and muscles, but for the first 2 decades of her life, she was kept largely hidden from the twisted, chaotic world her father had created. She was the protected, cherished heir, educated at Boston University, destined for a corner office, not the center of the ring. Then, in early 1999, she appeared. And she was everything the Attitude Era was not. While Stone Cold Steve Austin was chugging beers and flipping off his boss, while The Rock was electrifying millions, and while D-Generation X was invading rival companies on a tank, Stephanie was sweet. She was innocent. She was the audience's surrogate, a normal, gentle girl lost in a forest of monsters. Her first major storyline cemented this image. She fell in love, not with a megastar, but with an up-and-coming wrestler named Test. Their on-screen romance was presented as pure, a wholesome love story in a world devoid of it. But this being the McMahon family, it couldn't be simple. Her older brother Shane disapproved. This led to a love her or leave her match at SummerSlam. Test won, and with her brother's reluctant blessing, the two were engaged. The WWE Universe was captivated. They were going to broadcast the wedding, live on Monday Night Raw. For the first time, it seemed, a wrestling story would have a happy ending. The innocent princess was getting her fairy tale. She was the light in the darkness, the one pure soul in a company built on sin. But what the audience failed to realize was that in Vince McMahon's world, a fairy tale is just a horror story that hasn't found its monster yet. And Stephanie's monster wasn't just lurking in the shadows, it was about to drag her straight to hell. While Stephanie was planning her wedding, a new power was rising within the WWE. It was not a man, but a ministry of darkness led by a demonic, cult-leading Undertaker. He claimed he served a higher power, and his goal was not to win titles, but to seize control of the entire company by destroying its heart, Vince McMahon. And what is the heart of Vince McMahon? His daughter. The ministry began a campaign of psychological terror. They invaded the McMahon home. They left burning symbols on the lawn. They kidnapped Stephanie's brother, Shane. But their true target, their ultimate prize, was always the princess. Then, at the Backlash pay-per-view in April 1999, the unthinkable happened. Stephanie McMahon was kidnapped. Live on television. The show ended with Vince McMahon on his knees, weeping for his daughter. This was no longer wrestling. This was a hostage crisis. The next night on Raw, the world witnessed one of the most disturbing segments in television history. The Undertaker planned to force Stephanie into an unholy matrimony. This was not entertainment. It was a ritual. She was a sacrifice. She was tied to the symbol, helpless, as the Undertaker began the ceremony. He was going to marry her against her will, a satanic ritual broadcast to millions. The company's owner was powerless. The locker room was helpless. The innocent, sweet girl who just wanted to get married was about to be forcibly wed to the Lord of Darkness. At the very last second, the glass shattered. Stone cold. Steve Austin, her father's mortal enemy, stormed the ring and saved her. The audience erupted. The nightmare was over. Stephanie was traumatized but safe. She returned to the arms of her fiancé, Test. Her ordeal with the darkness had ended, but this entire kidnapping, this entire horrific event, served a hidden purpose. It wasn't just a storyline. It was a test. It was designed to break her, to push her to the edge. And it worked, just not in the way anyone expected. After surviving a literal cult, Stephanie's wedding to Test was back on. This was it. This was her reward. On November 29, 1999, the ring was filled with flowers, a priest, and the entire McMahon family. Stephanie walked down the aisle, a vision in white. She looked happy. She looked healed. The trauma was behind her. The ceremony was beautiful. The priest reached the fateful words, "If anyone here has just cause why these two should not be joined." It was Triple H, the degenerate leader of DX, the company's most juvenile and chaotic anarchist. He claimed he had an objection. He claimed he had a video. What played next was not just a gotcha moment. It was a confession to a felony. The video shows Stephanie McMahon at her bachelorette party, clearly intoxicated. Then, it shows Triple H. He reveals he put something in her drink. He drugged her. The footage cuts to him helping an unconscious Stephanie into his car. He drives her to Las Vegas. The next scene is at a 24-hour drive-through wedding chapel. Stephanie is completely passed out in the passenger seat. Triple H, grinning, talks to the chapel attendant. When the attendant asks Stephanie, "Do you take this man?" she is silent, slumped over. Triple H leans over, puts on a high-pitched, mocking voice, and says, "I do." Triple H, laughing, holds up a marriage certificate. The wedding is off. Why? Because Stephanie McMahon is already married to him. Let's be crystal clear about what was just broadcast on national television. The company's top villain just admitted to, and showed video evidence of, drugging the owner's daughter, driving her across state lines, and marrying her while she was unconscious. The pure, innocent princess had her first wedding stopped by a satanic kidnapping, and her second wedding ruined by an admission of what was, in kayfabe, date rape and a forced marriage. The audience was sickened. They were furious. They rallied behind the battered, victimized Stephanie. Her father, Vince, in a rare moment of being a protective father, demanded vengeance. He booked a match against Triple H at the next pay-per-view, Armageddon. The stipulation: if Vince won, the marriage would be annulled. If Triple H won, he would get a shot at the WWE Championship. It was a battle for his daughter's honor. It was good versus evil. It was the father protecting his violated daughter. It was the most obvious, clear-cut story of the year. And it was all a lie. Armageddon, December 1999. Vince McMahon, a 54-year-old non-wrestler, is fighting for his family's name against the most ruthless man in the sport, Triple H. Stephanie is at ringside watching her father get systematically destroyed in a no-holds-barred match. The match is a brutal, bloody war. Vince, running on pure adrenaline and rage, mounts a comeback. He grabs Triple H's signature sledgehammer. He is about to end it. He is about to save his daughter and his family. Stephanie climbs into the ring looking conflicted. Vince lowers the weapon. He looks at his daughter, his eyes full of love. This is who he's fighting for. Stephanie looks at him. Her expression changes. The fear vanishes. The tears stop, and she smiles. It was a smile that changed everything. She steps aside. Triple H gets to his feet, grabs the sledgehammer, and crushes Vince McMahon with it. 1, 2, 3. It's over. The crowd is in stunned, deafening silence. What just happened? Triple H, the monster, goes to raise his own hand. But Stephanie stops him. She grabs his hand, raises it herself, and then pulls him into a passionate, triumphant embrace. She kisses the man who drugged and forcibly married her. The next night on Raw, the truth came out. It was all a plan, her plan. She was never a victim. She was the architect. The Undertaker kidnapping. That, she explained, was real. And in that moment, she realized her father saw her as a pawn, as bait to lure his enemies. He was weak. He couldn't even protect her. So, she decided to align herself with the strongest man she could find. The drugging in Vegas, the drive-through wedding, a complete setup. She was in on it the entire time. She let Triple H do it. They planned the whole thing to get revenge on her father and to position themselves as the new power in the company. The sweet, innocent, shy princess was a mask. Underneath was a cold, calculating, manipulative genius. She had played everyone: her father, her brother, the fans, her fiancé Test. She used the audience's sympathy, weaponized her own status as a victim, and orchestrated the most elaborate hostile takeover in entertainment history. The billion-dollar princess wasn't just a nickname. It was a mission statement. The dark past wasn't something that happened to her. It was something she created. The turn at Armageddon wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the McMahon-Helmsley era, and it was a reign of terror. Having seized control of the company from her father, Stephanie's true personality was unleashed. The sweet girl was gone, replaced by an arrogant, power-mad tyrant. She became, without question, the most hated woman in professional wrestling. Her character was defined by a chilling cruelty. She didn't just beat her rivals, she humiliated them. She forced legends to beg for their jobs. She publicly fired Mick Foley, a beloved icon, and had him brutally beaten and dragged from the arena. She used her power to make her husband, Triple H, an unstoppable champion, booking him in matches that were impossible for his opponents to win, and she relished the hate. She would grab a microphone and verbally tear down anyone who stood in her way. She had a special venom for the other women in the company, like Lita and Trish Stratus, whom she saw as trash beneath her. She was a classist, a bully, and a dictator. This was her dark past. Not as a victim, but as the chief antagonist of the entire WWE. For almost 2 years, she was the central villain. She wasn't just a side piece, she was the throne itself. She proved that the only thing more dangerous than Vince McMahon was his daughter. She had been abducted by a cult. She had been drugged and married in Vegas. She had betrayed her entire family. And she had done it all to get to the top. The darkness wasn't something she escaped. It was something she mastered. But the most shocking part of this story was yet to come. The line between television and reality was about to disappear forever. Here is the ultimate twist. The one that WWE can't script. The on-screen diabolical marriage between Stephanie McMahon and Paul Levesque, Triple H, became a real-life romance. The couple that seized power in a storyline actually started dating. In 2003, they were married, for real. Suddenly, the McMahon-Helmsley era never truly ended. The on-screen power couple became the real power couple. As the years went on, Stephanie transitioned from her dark, on-screen character to a real-life corporate executive. She became the chief brand officer. Triple H became the executive vice president and, eventually, the head of creative. The power they pretended to have in 1999, they now actually possess. And this is why that dark past is so fascinating and why it's something the company would rather you forget. The modern WWE is a publicly traded, family-friendly global brand. The Stephanie McMahon they present to advertisers is a powerful, inspiring female leader. How can this woman be the same person who, in storyline, plotted a fake drugging and marriage? How can the face of the women's evolution be the same character who called Trish Stratus a $2 whore? How can the corporate philanthropist be the same woman who was kidnapped and nearly sacrificed by a satanic cult? The answer is she is both. She is the product of the single darkest, most controversial era in television history, an era that WWE is now actively trying to distance itself from. You will never see them rebroadcast the drive-through wedding in a Best of Raw compilation. You will never hear them reference the unholy matrimony in a positive light. These are the buried tapes. The things WWE is hiding about Stephanie McMahon. They want you to see the smiling CBO. They want you to see the billion-dollar princess as an empowering nickname. But those who were there, those who watched, we remember the truth. We remember the terror. We remember the abduction. And we remember the smile. The smile that revealed that the most innocent face in the company hid the darkest mind. She wasn't just a character in the story. She was the story.